And now that we are recording, Laurie reached out to me last week, and it worked out that I was meeting with most of you for the Creek Week item, and we all talked about watershed and wetlands and things like that. And Laurie just happened to email me with perfect timing. And I definitely wanted her to meet with most of you because you all have either a stake in this or your area comprises of some really unique areas that I think would benefit her project. So with that, I'll hand it over to Laurie. And then if you all will take a minute to just, or maybe we should do that first. So sorry, Laurie, but if everyone will just take like a couple minutes to introduce yourself, please give your name, your organization, and then anything else you would like to share in regards to like wetland mapping or conservation efforts in your neck of the woods. So with that, Michelle, I know you went already, but you're first on my little screen here. If you'll go first, that would be great.
Sure. So I'm Michelle Ritchie, and I work for Colorado State University Extension in El Paso County, and I'm the Food Systems and Natural Resources Specialist for the county. I also hold a couple of statewide jobs. One of them is developing a new program for a naturalist program for CSU Extension, and then the other one is as the state lead for the Native Plant Master Program.
Perfect. Thanks, Michelle. I'm not sure who's on for the Fountain Creek Watershed District, but if you will unmute and introduce, that would be great.
Yeah, hey everybody, this is Allie Shook. I'm sorry, I'm in transit. I had to take my little kitty to the vet this morning. So thank you for bearing with my logo there. I'm the executive director of the Watershed District. We work from Palmer Lake to Pueblo to protect and enhance the health of our home watershed, which certainly includes wetlands. To date, we've done $35 million in creek restoration work, mainly on the main stem of Fountain Creek. And then we also have our engaging public events. So yeah, just really interested in hearing more. We are in the middle of our strategic plan implementation to kind of set the course for the future for our organization. So yes, we're always looking for partners in the work we do. So happy to be here.
Perfect. Thank you, Allie. And then I'm probably going to say this wrong, but it says Pratima on this.
Yeah, this is Pratima. So I am here on behalf of John and Guinevere from Douglas County. So I've been hired like very recently. So I started work last week as like extension program coordinator. So I've not been involved in any wetland mapping programs, but I'm here to learn more. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And for the sake of the recording, I am Beth. I am the Pueblo County Agriculture Natural Resource Coordinator through CSU Extension. And Laurie emailed me, and I knew most of you or knew somebody who knew you, and that's kind of how we all got connected. So with that, now I will hand it over to Laurie for her introduction and kind of what the program is and any items that you all might be able to help with. And then of course, we'll have a little bit of time for you all to ask her questions as well. So the floor is yours, Laurie.
Thank you so much, Beth, and thanks for everybody for coming to this last minute meeting, and thanks for organizing the meeting, Beth. So I'm just excited to connect with folks down south of some of the places that I'm more familiar with working. So about me and my program, I'm Laurie Gilligan. I'm a wetland ecologist at the Colorado Natural Heritage Program. And a lot of what our program does, we're based at Colorado State University. We're a department, but we're a research department. We do work with students for occasionally like class collaborations, and I have work studies and interns, but we don't really is often teach classes. We do more research. And we have a wetland team at our program, and we run a website called Colorado Wetland Information Center, which I always just Google CWIC to find that. And we have all kinds of cool wetland reports and information and tools there. So I've been doing wetland assessment, wetland condition assessment, but also all kinds of wetland inventories in Colorado for some time now. And I specialize in the urban areas of Colorado and the Front Range, and then also in the plains, in the Eastern Plains. And a lot of the ways that we are able to do this work is through these EPA Wetland Program Development Grants that we're putting in a proposal for tomorrow. And so this This is a little bit preemptive to have a meeting, but part of my hope for meeting with you and hearing what you do in your interest could be just to drop the names of the organizations into the proposal that you would be, potential either users of the outcomes or even potential collaborators to help us with the work. So to talk a little bit about the project, it's a 2-year project that is a wetland assessment project on vulnerable wetlands of the Front Range. So it goes from, the study area is from north of Fort Collins, almost the state line, but not quite, sort of in the more urban area, down to Pueblo in Pueblo County. The west side of the study area boundary is the short grass prairie, so we're not really working in the mountains. And the east side, we're still sort of dialing in, but we're focusing on where people, where the population centers are, and then also where the growth development area is. So the goals of this study are multiple. We're hoping to do new mapping. National Wetlands Inventory mapping, or NWI mapping, is public mapping that's available across the US. And the mapping in our urban Front Range corridor is pretty patchy. We have some really new mapping that's happened in the last, we call it new, it's happened in the last decade, but then there's a lot of mapping that's super old, like from the 70s. And we use it a lot for work, and so do our partners, and we just really want to help get a nice band of updated mapping across the urban corridor where most people live and work in Colorado, so that we can do better, watershed planning and projects and stewardship and whatnot. So that's the first goal, is updated wetland mapping. And then we're hoping to do assessment at both a landscape scale, where we model wetland condition using sort of what we call a level 1 condition assessment. So it'd be using different data layers, including the updated NWI mapping data, to model the condition of wetlands that are in anywhere from like good to excellent condition, and then fair condition, and then presumed poor condition. It's a landscape model, so it's not perfect, just like any sort of, it's not exact, I should say, like on the landscape, just like any vegetation map, you would use it to help prioritize, say at the watershed level or at a local government scale, but it's not going to tell you exactly what's going on in any one wetland without that visit. But we're really excited about that. And then along with the landscape condition assessment, we're going to be surveying wetlands, probably about 20 wetlands, maybe more, maybe 25. And for those wetland surveys, we take plant data, we do a wetland boundary, we do a condition assessment of the whole wetland, and we're going to do a social value assessment as well. And so I did a wetland inventory for the city of Aurora, where we use the social value assessment. And I feel like those are really important in the more urban areas where there's more going on than just whether the wetland is in perfect condition or has these types of stressors happening that we can potentially direct management to. There's also just such huge value in ecosystem services and the social values and people enjoying the green space and blue space for wellness and access. And we try to quantify that. I'm going to work with that model a little bit for this larger scale social value rating than just for Aurora. So we want it to be applicable to the Front Range, and that might be using environmental justice data layers and whatnot. So anyways, for those 20 surveys or so, we'll talk to folks who are aware of their local wetland resources and what's most important to them to get surveyed. We really want to know what are your goals, what are the areas that you want more information on. And we also would be really interested in having information exchange where we're out and talking to folks that are working on the ground to learn more, to gather knowledge that you have into this wetland assessment and social values assessment, and to exchange information as well on really anything wetlands, plants, condition, whatever. And then finally, so we have new mapping, condition modeling, targeted site assessment. We're investing in outreach, where we just hope to have meetings and field days and other types that we're going to have a story map and social media. And we're doing that through a new hire. We're going to hire an outreach person at our workplace. So that's really exciting. And that will be a way for us to spread educational information and just inspirational information and connect with people about our wetlands and watersheds. So that's one area where I really feel like we could talk and see if we have overlapping goals that we could connect on in our outreach and information transfer. So that was a lot. But that's, mapping, condition assessment, social values assessment, and outreach are our project goals. So does anybody have any questions or things that you wanted to share about your interest in this type of work? If there's particular areas or types of wetlands or threats or things that you just might be interested in, that would be useful to know, especially for the proposal.
Yeah, this is Allie. Laurie, thank you for the background. This sounds really exciting. I would say we are currently involved in a phase 2 study of the potential of an in lieu fee and setting up a wetland bank in our watershed. Currently I believe there's maybe 1 or 2 banks in the works, but they're only specific for El Paso County and El Paso County's work. So our study is to, look for opportunities for future development that may require wetland banking, and if that's something that we could facilitate in our region. So I'd be happy to connect you with Lucy Harrington is with GEI. That's the consulting firm we're using for this study. And that'd be a great person to have you chat with just about that specific project for us.
Thanks, Allie. That's great. So are you looking to identify potential wetland banking within your area and your watershed?
Yep. Yes, we've already identified a few potential locations. We've already determined that there is a need in the coming years, given all the work that'll be happening. So yeah, we like to hone in a little bit more on that.
That's great. Yeah, maybe there's a way we could connect. I could connect with her, and we could even chat about if there might be overlapping interest for the assessment piece, or just mapping to make sure that the mapping is going to cover that area that you're hoping to. And it's the mapping is digital NWI mapping, so looking at desktop imagery, of course. For some of those sort of transportation and baking style projects, the next steps would be sending delineators out, but for the scoping and planning, this new mapping can be so helpful.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Laurie, I could see a couple of places where the hats that I wear could plug into this. I just want to make sure I understand when you're talking about doing the surveying, and are you wanting to survey the plants that are in these wetlands?
When
Is that one of them? Yeah.
Sorry. Yes. So we follow EIA, ecological integrity assessment methods for our wetland condition assessment surveys. And those rate a biotic condition, which includes a plant survey. So we can that's one of our strengths at CNHP, is describing the native plant composition there, and what kind of quality it is in, and that helps drive information on conservation stewardship. We also identify the weeds. We give a full species list for any area that we survey, and that's all part of a bigger of a site level condition assessment that would also look at other indicators or other metrics that relate to wetland condition, like the surrounding landscape condition and the buffer, the hydrologic condition, and then the soil and water condition. So we provide all those things, and we like to try to align these surveys to needs, since we're working in such a large area, and we're just trying to connect with, like, who are the people out there? What kinds of things are you thinking about in terms of Front Range wetlands, especially the more vulnerable ones, which, in any place that has dense population or urban development expected, they're pretty much all vulnerable for those reasons, but then there's other reasons as well that we can always talk about more. We'd like to target areas like that would help local practitioners get the extra information that they need about the wetland resources.
So just so I understand, is part of that need kind of boots on the ground? Are you needing people to help with that, or you'll bring your own team to do that?
We will hire 2 field technicians who will do those surveys, and then I will be out with them both training and also doing a little bit of surveying myself, and I'll be out available to and interested in having field days with partners like yourself or any other folks that are doing this type of work. So for those field days, we could just talk about what we do. Like I can help train on wetland plant ID, or we could have information exchange, like, oh, here's these things that are going on in our wetlands with the plants, and that information is helpful for our project. So we don't really need someone to go out and do surveys for us, but sometimes those data can be really helpful to larger projects, since we're doing like a general study of the Front Range wetlands.
Okay. Because the reason I'm asking specifically for it on the plant side of it is another potential, and I think I understood you say that you were going to need letters of support. So another potential entity might be the Colorado Native Plant Society. And they do a wonderful job doing what they call bioblitzes, where they'll go in and identify the species in an area. And so I am in the process of joining their board of directors. And so I can reach out to the president if you think that that is somebody you might want a letter of support from as well.
Yeah, like I'm thinking of how that, so we will, for this report, we will share the information on the species found, and maybe it would be good to talk with the Native Plant Society. Like I'm trying to think of how they would use our site specific data for their purposes, but you know, we did a talk. I contributed to a talk. I actually didn't do the talk on one of these wetland projects on plants in the past, so they might be good for that. For the yeah, like we could do some outreach with the Native Plant Society, and then that would also help their program. Yeah, that's great. That's a great idea. I didn't think of that. I'm a little bit nervous to make new contacts and ask for something by tomorrow.
Yeah, I understand. And maybe it can be just a tie-in through me.
Yeah, or it could even be for later that we should be connecting with them about like the data that will come out of this project, and then we could work together to think about, yeah, how do these bioblitz data, how do these cool plants data, that's like regional plants data, how can we exchange that information and both build our programs and our work? I like that idea. But yeah, that would, and I should just underscore that we don't know if this will get funded. We think we have a really good track record with EPA. And they've funded projects just about every grant cycle, but they don't fund 100% of the projects that we propose. I think this one is just really powerful because we're trying really hard to identify need and work with people that are doing the work. So hopefully it'll just be a big capacity building project that's like the overarching goal to build capacity around wetlands. So yeah, I would love to, I think that'd be great to be connected in with Native Plant Society with the idea that, and I think I might have even emailed with some of the folks there for that talk that we did a couple of years ago.
Okay. And then the other part that I feel like I could definitely plug into is that outreach piece. I would love to help you guys with that. So
thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for coming today and talking about the project. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So you're doing the natural areas program, right? And so do you think that do you ever focus on wetlands or riparian habitat in some of the work that you do with people out in the field, or how does that work?
Yeah, I have not yet, because that is a new part of my job. And so I haven't built that out yet, but it's definitely a direction I could go.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we had Melody jump on, and so I'm going to give her an opportunity to just kind of introduce herself, because I know she has a lot of tie-ins as well, Laurie, and she had some different questions compared to some other folks in the group as well, specifically like on beaver habitat and things like that that had to do with some wetland areas. So I'll give it to her and let her introduce herself and ask you her questions that I know she had kind of keyed up for this.
Thank you, Beth. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for being late. It's just scheduling, you know how it is. But I'm glad I am here, and I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I was really excited to read what is possible, right? And I am one of the key principal folks behind the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative here for Colorado Springs and Manitou Springs and for the Front Range. Excuse me. My business partner is Jerry Mallet, and we work with other organization, Wild Connections and the Butterfly Pavilion, with Sherry Tippy and her whole beaver reintroduction. I would say she really initiated that back in the day here. So when it comes to this project, and we're looking at wetland restoration, especially about the riparian habitat, I am the executive director of the Manitou Pollinators, and we were really successful in the last 5 years we finally achieved our certification as the first pollinator district in the state of Colorado and in the world through the Butterfly Pavilion, their pollinator district model. And that just naturally, a part of that model includes water restoration, and includes riparian habitat. So I cued into those parts of what you're doing. And also as a traditional Indigenous elder, this is the new development coming forward as I'm working with Canadian elders about how we can bridge more of these conversation that embodies traditional Indigenous knowledge and non-traditional Indigenous knowledge when it comes to restoration and about conservation and about our environment. And that I tend to look at the whole picture. That's how Indigenous people, we do that. We look at the ecosystem, we don't silo, right? So the proposals for the Front Range would include, for the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative, would really be looking at stream restoration, the possibilities, and really these partnerships are so key. Colorado Native Plant Society is a partner of the Manitou Pollinators, and they helped us achieve our pollinator district certification. That's just one entity that's been a big part of this celebration that we accomplished. We will be holding a stream restoration presentation at the end of October with Jackie Corday, which gets into SB 270, about how to be able to do what you're envisioning for the Front Range. You've got big business, you've got municipalities, you've got big government, but then it's really what I see is just the loopholes or the cracks is that, well, what can we do more on a more of a local scale, more of a hands-on approach with just the community. That's what I love about her presentation. It's going to offer some possibilities for us moving forward. And I would like to pitch that in, that might just, I'm thinking of Shook's Run. I'm thinking up there in Monument Creek. There's so many places where that ability to really bring it to the community and downsize it. And even like with Audubon Society or with the Colorado Native Plant Society, with the Heritage Society, all of that, I believe that there's going to be some possibilities to grow and expand that, which I thought was really exciting. It's just really dovetailing into some of the movement I see going along the Front Range here. And just the whole idea of bringing in beavers, that's a part of the work that Jerry and I are doing right now. We are working with CC, Charlotte Gabrielson. I don't know if she's on. I invited her and Dr. Karina McKendry to be a part of this conversation, because they took on a study on behalf of the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative, was to go and do the land work within the Front Range, especially around Colorado Springs Monument, up along the Pike Forest here, as to potential areas that were either beaver were existing in that area at a certain part of time, and now they've been removed, whatever, but how to bring them back in if we can to help with this stream restoration and really connecting streams back to their floodplains, the historical ones, right? to just create a better habitat, better water. You know, beavers are just so instrumental with erosion control, offsetting the sediment, taking care of toxins and pollution, that kind of issues. They really do provide the habitat for pollinators and other wild animals that come in and that have needs just like humans have needs. So I'd like to, I don't know if she's a part of this. I didn't have a chance to see the people who are on the panel, but I'm going to offer that up to them and ask them to continue to explore that. Her study and her research was phenomenal. Jerry and I met with her 2 weeks ago. It's pretty impressive. So she would be someone that I would love to, if she's not here today, to keep including her in that, because she's going to continue to be doing research on behalf of the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative and just the state of Colorado and our Front Range about what we can do with beavers where it's appropriate, right? But that's already some phenomenal field science research and work that she's done that would be available. I think that's it. Thank you for giving me time here to talk.
Thanks, Melody. That's fascinating work and really excited. Yeah, we are at CNHP. We are 100% on board with the value of beaver for providing basically natural restoration to our riparian and wetland resources and floodplains. And there's the wetland mapping that will be updated is really cool because the attribute codes or the way that the wetlands are mapped does include where there's beaver presence, which is something that a lot of these old data just don't have. They might not have used that beaver modifier. So that can help know about what is there right now in these places of new mapping. And I think that so part of the focus of this project is thinking about what are the vulnerable wetland types in the Front Range. And I would say that we often think about those types of wetland types from a watershed scale perspective. You have your headwater wetlands that they might have even more organic content in the soil or even peat sometimes. And so that has this like water storage ecosystem service and capacity, but then there's also the stresses on that to do with climate change and then also water use, like when people are on wells and they build subdivisions, that changes the water table for those local areas. Then it sort of moves downstream into the floodplain. And so those wetlands up there are sort of vulnerable in that way. And as you get into the floodplain, a lot of floodplain wetlands, whether they're big herbaceous floodplain wetlands that you can kind of encroach into, or beaver wetlands that people just have, there's conflicting, like you say, conflicting needs of like people love to go to beaver wetlands and see how amazing and beautiful they are and tour them for their own like nature enjoyment. And at the same time, they can flood into the roads and they cause all kinds of challenges for management. So I think that they're just important to highlight in our study, and we should include some beaver wetland surveys, and the mapping data will get into that too. And it sounds like we could maybe talk more about the outreach component, and maybe there'd be a way we could have a field day and sort of join, connect, and share information on you know, your organization, Beavers and Pollinators, and our like sort of broader scale work on like the services that beavers provide to both our watersheds and just to human connection to nature. So I love all that, and it sounds like we could have a lot to talk about. And Sarah Marshall, I wonder if you've worked with her. So she's one of our staff members who's at CNHP, who has done a lot of work with beaver. She's a part of the BRAT model, which is a beaver restoration model that's focused on bringing beaver out and about. And so she might be a good person to loop in as well.
Oh, thank you. That's exciting. I would love to talk with you and with Sarah. And I know that Charlotte did use the BRAT model. And so I would love to bring her work in to see what the overlay is with you folks and with her. It was really phenomenal. Just the actually active beaver locations that are going on right now. I was astounded by how much was going on, but then also just the historical part that we're talking about and the possibilities for the Front Range. And yes, you hit all of the the issues that come with beaver. And it's like, they're not the end all be solution, but they really are a necessary component of the ecosystem. And it's important to have them because they can do so much. And that's that low tech processes, right? That low tech nature based processes, whether you do BDAs or if you have beavers, just come in and do it. There's so many ways that we can all work together. And that's really the vision, the goal, I think, of all of our organizations is like, how can we restore and bring back what we have and what was here originally that really had, from an Indigenous point of view, believe me, they know how to do it. Beavers know how to do it. And you brought up a really good point, because that's one of the concerns that I have just as a professional landscaper. Harding Nursery, I know they drain the aquifer out there. So that's always in the back of my mind, is like when you're talking about human, settlers coming in and changing the landscape, and we've got all these developments going on, and how that did disrupt the aquifer, that did disrupt how flow happened. So now we've got all these other issues to contend with. So when I'm thinking out on that Front Range area, as you're pointing out, I'm like, is it possible? Is it not? But we're thinking along the same lines. And that the flow that happens up here in the north, have you ever been to Dallas May's ranch? How many of you know about Dallas May? You're smiling. Oh my gosh. So it's like, and he has actual footage from the flood that happened this year, and watching like a tidal wave coming down to his farm, carrying all the trash and debris, all of the garbage from the north. And that's where I'm getting at, is like, that's a big part of the issue. But because of his beaver program on his ranch, that flood came in and it was stopped because of the wetland beaver developed area that he has. The water flow was dispersed, the garbage stopped, and the water was cleaned as it headed further south from his farm. So that's the possibility and potential, and really what we're looking at too, at least for the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative, is like, how can we offset some of those imbalances that go down to Beth's area, down in Pueblo. But Dallas May's Ranch is really, it's a model for us along the Front Range, and with private landowners and ranchers and farmers. And even from that urban perspective, yes, beavers can be, they bring in their own issues and concerns, but there's a whole movement with the Beaver Institute and Emily Fairfax, and I'm working with that. It's really about changing the languaging and the thinking behind them, that finally they're not looked at as a nuisance rodent anymore. It's like they've been a part of the system. They know how to do it well, and they're just kind of being themselves, but that there's all these new things to come in to help with culverts, to help with that flooding, and that we can actually change that so that those things don't happen as much, or maybe it's not the right location. So when it comes to that beaver education, that would certainly be a part of helping our people understand that they have a vital role. They were here before settlers came. They're intrinsic to the Indigenous knowledge base of healthy ecosystems, and that it's important to bring them back, because that's why they're called a keystone species. As an Indigenous elder, I always ask people, what does keystone mean to you? And I said, for me, what it means for Indigenous people, we look as well, they take care of us. They take care of us without having to be paid. They take care of, they know how to do it. So we naturally come back, we want to take care of them, because they take care of such a bigger thing that's going on that we know about, and that we have to honor that, bring them back and have them be a part of this system now, instead of excluding them. And that's really the mission of the Keystone Ecosystem Initiative, and just healing and water restoration, and that would be, it's necessary. At least as an Indigenous elder, I'm like, it's a non-negotiable area as far as I'm concerned when we're talking about stream restoration. And what do we do with our urban environments? California's got it down. So we've got models there, precedents about how they're really managing those human beaver conflict areas. They got it down. So I'm really confident we can figure this out and come up with something really great through your program and your organization, and moving forward with Dallas May too, of course.
Thanks, Melody, for all of that. Yes, I think it sounds like we have some really great, with this full group, with some great overlap in our outreach and our watershed stewardship objectives. And we all have these different areas that we're sort of either working in and then also target ecosystem types of interest. So hopefully we can inventory those lists and then just create sort of a resilient partnership network to help get as much information and capacity out there for the on the ground types of work that all these folks are doing. So I personally really appreciate all of your input. I know Fatima, I don't know if you have, it sounds like you're new in your area, but I'm really excited to work with you as well to just have representation from the, I think El Paso, you said?
Douglas County,
Oh, I'm
Laurie.
sorry, Douglas County. I'm getting confused. I wrote it down, but then my notes are kind of crazy. Yeah, Douglas County, and actually Douglas County is an area that has a lot of those headwater wetlands that are really just crucial for providing water to our watersheds. So yeah, I think we could talk a lot more going forward. But is there
Yeah,
anything?
sure, Laurie. Yeah, I'm excited to work with you as well. Interested in learning more about wetland mapping. So yeah, we can discuss more.
Perfect, perfect.
Yeah.
And I guess, Laurie, if you'll go into more detail kind of about like the outreach part, and then just also like if the proposal does go through tomorrow, like if you guys have next steps kind of planned out, or if you're going to kind of wait to see whether it does get approved, or kind of what that looks like. And then of course, if anyone has additional items to throw out, you are welcome to do that. But just so that Laurie can kind of fill us all in, just in the interest of time as well. So yeah.
Yeah, so the timing is a bit delayed. We will find out if this project gets funded approximately the end of the year, and then we don't have. Oh, thanks, Michelle. And if we don't have, if we get funded on time, we could potentially get funding at the earlier parts of 2024. However, our project timeline is from July, so in the middle of the field season of 2024 through June 2026. So it's 2 fiscal years. We are operating on that here at CSU. And that just, so our first, after we find out if we get funded at the end of this year, oh, thank you for sharing my email as well. After you find out if we get funded for the end of this year, then in the meanwhile, we can always have, I think, one-on-one conversations or with your program can be really valuable to inventory those mutual interests and ways that we can help each other build capacity for this work and the ultimate project vision. We can have those conversations before we have the funding, so that way we're ready to go. And then come July 2024, Gabby Smith, our wetland mapper, will start mapping those quads in the email that I sent out of the Front Range. I can briefly share my screen so that you have it on this video as well. Here we go. There we go. So basically,
It's not sharing on our side, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Is it sharing now?
Yeah, it's there it goes. Now we can all see it.
Okay, awesome. So this is sort of the central band of the Front Range urban corridor in the cities, and the mapping that is the most recent is in the darker blue, and then the 70s and 80s mapping is so outdated it's hard for it to be useful for our own types of projects and planning and work. So we're trying to focus on the places that are the where there's most development front or populous areas, and also areas with more critical watershed resources like those groundwater wetlands I was talking about in Douglas County. So the new mapping that we're proposing is in these areas. And we also have, so that will get started in July 2024. And so it won't be available for a while. In truth, it takes a while to map. We wish we could map more. If any folks have budget for like another week of mapping here and there, that's always something we could talk about to add you on, or we can move where the areas that we have targeted for mapping if there's a more urgent need that's in this like general Front Range corridor area, so that we can map the places that people are going to use. So then after about 6+ months, we'll be starting for gearing up for field surveys in 2025. So that's 2 field seasons later. And from that time, that's when we do more of that outreach. And when we done the mapping and we have some starting of the field data. We've done a condition assessment model at this whole research scale, but then we'll be like surveying a site here and surveying a site here and surveying a site here, where there's that manager or partner collaborative goal to get that information like highlighted in our project and in our outreach and whatnot. And then the report will be done 2 years from now. So it's sort of a stepwise. I'll stop sharing. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we were trying to also prioritize mapping of areas designated as environmental justice disadvantage by the EPA, which is there's a CJUS website, which is how and it's based on a mixture of meeting certain thresholds that are important to not having as many resources in the area, and then also environmental justice issues. So we're really trying to map those places, especially just because we want to make sure that we have more information on watersheds that historically might have either underserved information sources or public health or whatnot. So that's what those disadvantage blocks are. But I will stop sharing. And so until then, we are kind of just going to wait, and we're happy to meet with any folks individually or send emails and share information on our project, but we're not really up and running for a while.
Okay, sounds good. And then I know Michelle had put it in the chat as well, but I guess in the meantime, is there anything you want or need from those of us that are on the call today, or even the folks that will listen to this next week? I know the letters of support are due tomorrow, so you're welcome to like touch base on that. And then if you need anything else after Friday, feel free to share that with the group, because there is a lot of folks on here that probably have resources for you in a lot of different ways.
Yes, so we have, it sounds like we're acquiring some letters of support, and everyone that we get can help this work get funded. So we always appreciate those. They can just be short, like a couple of paragraphs saying, hey, we're interested in collaborating on the outreach, or we're interested in using the mapping for our area goals, or we're interested in having field days where we, exchange plant identification information, or some area of that sort of overlap. So we would totally love those kinds of letters, but we have to get a move on them. So I think it's up to if that's something that you can do, and I'm happy to help come up with like a couple bullet points or whatever for your organization from what I learned today on what could be included. But it's not essential. I'm just really excited to start to gain potential partners that we can work with in this more southern part of our study area. Being based in Fort Collins, I think that I have a lot more local partner knowledge and local government knowledge and county knowledge in the north side of the study area. And I'm just hoping to build those partnerships where you all are now.
Yeah, sounds great. And well, and as you saw based off the map you showed us, you actually have representation from basically every area that was highlighted as where you were going to map on this call today in some avenue from outside of Denver. There's nobody here from Denver, but I know you said you had contacts in Denver, but everyone south of that is on this call. So I think we're all excited and happy to help. For those of you that are watching this recording later, I will put Laurie's email address in the caption part of the video, just in case you do want to reach out to her individually. You can contact her that way, just in case you can't see the chat, because her email was thrown in there, but I'm not sure how well that will work, because that doesn't always sometimes work very well on Zoom recordings. And that way, if you want to meet with her individually, or you have another folk to introduce her to, you are welcome to reach out to her independently. So with that, is there any other last questions, or Laurie, if you have anything else you'd like to share with the group?
If there's no other questions, I'm just looking forward to working with you all, and I'll be in touch via email in the meantime and keep you posted on if this gets funded. And from there, we can start to scope these types of more site-specific goals, like where to map and where to assess and what are the local issues that we should be drawing attention to. So just really appreciate all of your help. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. It's a fantastic project. We're all, I think, super excited about it for various reasons, but all with the same goal in mind. And just really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us all. Thank you all for jumping on here. I know it was kind of super quick, but just with the timing of the proposal, it was, if y'all wanted to kind of know a little bit more, now was the time. So appreciate everyone making the time today. Just again, friendly reminder that this is being recorded. I will send the link out next week. And then of course we'll wait to hear from Laurie on whether the proposal did go through or not. Laurie, will you hear like early next week, or do you know when you'd hear a response?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, we submit it this Friday or Monday, and then we will not hear a response on whether it's funded until the end of the year. And then they will start to fund it at the start of 2024. And then our actual work plan has the work started in midsummer.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, I know we'll all be anxiously waiting to hear what's decided. We're all rooting for it for sure. And then y'all, if any of you do want, if you didn't get to see the information about the letter of support and you would like to, just reach out to Laurie. She had a great email that she sent out to some of us regarding it. And like she said, it can just be a few bullet points based off that. Those of us in extension, we can speak to it. I did kind of do a little bit of digging. As long as you speak to it from like an outreach or an education perspective, it's fine. Just saying that, you know, and because she is part of the CSU system, it makes this a little easier for us in extension, so that we're not leaning too far one way or the other on various topics that affect our communities. But that's what I've been told, is that as long as it's kind of following that path, then extension is welcome to support it. So that's kind of where we're at with all of that. So unless there's anything else, I think we'll go ahead and just end a little early to give everyone a little bit of time back in their day. And I see Michelle, you unmuted, so feel free to jump in if you have something you wanted to add.
I didn't, I don't think I got the email that you're referencing, so I would like to see that. And I was unmuting to say thank you, Beth, for pulling this all together and for thinking of all of us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. You all have great information. I've chatted with a lot of you at length most of the time about something that I knew Laurie probably had an interest in, so definitely wanted you all to do. And then Laurie, if you're okay, I'll just forward your long email that you sent out to Michelle, and that way she can see it. And then Michelle, if you have other questions about it, you have her email, so you're welcome to connect as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Well, thanks all so much. See you all soon, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.